Hey everyone, it's Nissa. Today we're going to be talking about writing concisely and what it means to eliminate wordiness in your writing and what it means to make every word really count and to not have any unnecessary or redundant words and to really question the role of all the words that we're putting in. So what does this mean to write concisely? Well, it means to use just the words that you need and no more. To really make every word do something for your writing is that each of the words that you use in your sentences, not to just let them be there because that's maybe how things sound the best or maybe how things sound more flowery that way, but every word in your sentences needs to fulfill some purpose, needs to do something for your writing. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And here's a quote from William Strunk Jr. that I thought was really exemplified why we need to work on writing concisely, and also to dispel some of the misconceptions I think some writers have about what it means to write concisely. So, vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words, a paragraph no unnecessary sentences, for the same reason that a drawing should have no unnecessary lines and a machine no unnecessary parts. This requires not that the writer make all his sentences short or that he avoid all detail and treat his subjects only in outline, but that every word tell. So this really highlights, I think, the idea that each of the words in your sentence needs to fulfill some purpose. It doesn't mean that you need to write really short sentences or use really simple language. We're not trying to dumb down the writing. We're just trying to make it so that you can be more economical with the words that you use. So some examples of wordiness. The first thing we'll discuss is wind-ups. So this is when you wind up, you prepare, you kind of give a little introduction to your sentences. A lot of these phrases, while they sound really, really nice and really cute and maybe a little chatty even, really don't do anything for your writing. So while they're technically not incorrect, they are taking up excess space in the paper that doesn't really need to be taken up. So some examples of these include, because of these facts, students should be encouraged to ride bicycles to school. I see this phrase, because of these facts, so often, or because of these reasons, I think this, or because of this evidence, I think this. Your reader knows that whatever is going to come after such facts or reasoning or evidence, that is going to be because of that. You don't need to point that out. It's like saying, in my opinion, which is the third example here. In my personal opinion, parents should have the right to weigh in on what their children learn in primary school. The fact that it's in your paper, your reader is going to deduce, going to figure out that it is in fact your personal opinion. So again, while these phrases are not necessarily wrong or add anything false to your paper, they really don't help you in any way. And they just kind of take up space. And writing concisely is all about using the space in the most economical ways possible. So if you'd like to now, on the course site there's a link to a sheet that includes some more words and phrases to omit. If you'd like to see some more examples of these, please feel free to open this now and pause the video while you take a look. We won't go through it here now, but if you want to have more examples, please feel free to do that. Some more examples of wordiness. Redundant words. Avoid saying the same thing twice or using intensifiers, such as really or very or absolutely, that don't really intensify. The reason we use an intensifier is to intensify, is to make stronger a claim that we're making or a phrase that we're using. However, things like really or very or absolutely, while they add a certain urgency to your writing, perhaps, they really don't do a whole lot. And particularly in academic writing, words like really or very really don't need to be there. So some examples of things that some examples of redundant words. Our yearly anniversary is July 3rd. Not that you're going to be talking about anniversaries a lot in your academic writing, but this is just an example of the fact that yearly and anniversary mean the same thing. An anniversary is something that comes once a year. So if you're going to say it's our yearly anniversary, that's redundant, and you could just as easily say our anniversary is July 3rd and not lose any of the meaning. Another example, it is absolutely the case that young people should be able to drink at 18 instead of 21. There's two layers of redundancies I want to point out. The first is in green, absolutely. This is one of those intensifiers that I was talking about just a second ago, and that whether it's the case that young people should be able to drink or absolutely the case that young people should be able to drink, the fact that you're even saying this in your paper at all really doesn't make it necessary for you to say it's absolutely the case. I think if you state it as a declarative sentence by itself, young people should be able to drink at 18 instead of 21, that already has a sense of urgency or a sense of declaration about it that absolutely doesn't really add anything to. And the second layer here is, it is the case that. Again, while it maybe sounds more solid, it maybe sounds better, if you're using it as a declarative statement, young people should be able to drink at 18 instead of 21, there's an unspokenness there that it is the case that. So this is another phrase that can be taken out. So again, it's while the phrase isn't wrong and it doesn't add anything false to your writing, it's just not really doing anything for you, and it's adding excess words. It's gonna maybe cause your reader to stumble along the way reading your sentences, and you want to make it as concise as possible for them so that they can more easily navigate your thoughts and your claims. The third example here is a reiteration of the intensifier statement I made earlier. It is really very important for educators to relate to their students both in and outside the classroom. Really and very here, they kind of do the same thing. It is really very important. The fact that something is important versus very important, the distinction really isn't an important one, really isn't one that's going to change the meaning of your sentence. If you were to just say, it is important for educators to relate to their students both in and outside the classroom, that would probably be sufficient. Again, these really and very, while they are technically intensifiers, aren't really doing any kind of intensifying for your claims. They might sound better, but they're really not doing anything for you. And finally, there exist many different solutions for avoiding illness and spreading germs on campus. Two layers of redundancies I want to point out again. The first in green, many different. The fact that there are many also implies that they're different. So if you have many different solutions, you could just say there exist many solutions, or there exist different solutions, or there exist solutions. The fact that solutions is already plural means that there's more than one. Many might imply that there's a vast number of them, which is something that you might want to consider. But again, these are questions that you need to ask of your writing. Is this word really necessary? Maybe you're only talking about two solutions, in which case many isn't all that accurate. If you're talking about 1,000 solutions, maybe you may even want to say there are 1,000 solutions to really provide that number, which would in fact intensify your claim. And the second layer, there exist. The fact that you say there are solutions for avoiding illness and spreading germs, the fact that you use the to be verb, there are solutions, mean that they exist. Some people like to use the word exist as maybe it sounds more scientific or more formal, or they're just tired of using to be verbs, are, is, things like that. It's just not necessary. Again, it's if there's a simpler way of saying something, there are solutions, there is a way to avoid illness. Again, writing concisely is about taking the simplest route possible with our writing. So again, another example of wordiness is when you have multiple sentences that could be combined into one. Again, this goes back to the idea of really being economical with your sentences and only using the space in the paper as is needed to fully exemplify or demonstrate a claim. An example here. The experiment was conducted in an approved laboratory environment. The experiment was conducted over the course of 2 weeks. Two things I want to point out here. The first, if you remember back to Unit 1 when we were discussing old and new information, this is an example of, I've already said what the experiment is. One way of fixing this could be, The experiment was conducted in an approved laboratory environment. It was conducted over the course of 2 weeks. Using the it instead of reiterating the experiment in the second sentence might allow me to create a better sense of coherence and unity within this paragraph. However, because I'm really trying to be as concise as possible, a better solution might be to just combine the two sentences into one, because I'm talking about the experiment throughout the paragraph, and I'm really just only adding one other aspect of it in the second sentence. If I combine both of these, I could just use one sentence to fully demonstrate the claim that I'm trying to make. So what would be better is the experiment was conducted in an approved laboratory environment over the course of 2 weeks. Again, eliminating redundancy. I've already said that it was the experiment, and I'm discussing how it was conducted. I don't need to say it again.